Hi everyone, my name is Jack Koplinski and I'm the organizer for ASIT, which stands for Alberta Students in Technology. And so today is our demo day. So we're going to be talking and showing everyone what we built over our roughly 16-week program. So first, a little about me and how ASIT came to be is that my name is Jack Koplinski, and in high school there wasn't really a lot of opportunities, I felt, specifically in Alberta compared to other provinces to learn about software development in high school. And I wanted to help address this issue. So I created ASIT to mentor a few high school students in software development so that they could learn about it and explore more in that field. And so these are the high school students. So I will let Reese introduce herself with something that she's interested in, and I'll hand it over to her now.
Hi, my name is Reese. I'm in grade 10 and I'm interested in art besides from technology.
My name is Janvi and I'm in grade 11. And something that I'm interested in outside of technology is biology.
My name is Oscar. I'm currently in grade 11. I really love to play music with any people, any sizes of groups.
My name's Shiva. I'm also in grade 11, and I really like researching different topics around neuroscience, doing research in that field.
And unfortunately, Jada wasn't able to join us today, but she is in grade 11 and really likes robotics.
And I'm Jenny, and I'm just really interested in business.
And so thanks everyone for your introductions. Let's just quickly go over a program timeline for those of you who might not know what we've been up to. So for the first 4 weeks, I had the students do some Code Academy tutorials, which is nice because that's how I learned to code originally. And so those topics covered include HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, SQL. And then we were also introduced to Figma over the course of this program. And throughout those first 4 weeks, we also discussed the design thinking process at a high level, which for those of you who don't know, starts off in the empathy stage, where you try and empathize with a customer or client. Then you define what the customer or client wants, try to create a solution, prototype that solution, and then test it and iterate upon it. And this thinking process has become very famous for the creation of the Apple mouse, specifically, which it is credited with using. And yeah, that's a little bit about the design thinking process. And we used it to help come up with our main project idea. So the next 4 weeks, these students worked on the personal websites that they used. And then we also had them do an express tutorial that introduced them to how to connect a user interface to a database. And then we also did ideation as well. Also, yeah, okay, I'm not sure what my dad is doing with I'm going to remove him because he's also writing on the screen. There we go. Let me just erase this. Okay. Let's continue. And so, yeah, that is the ideation. And then we also, for the next 6 weeks, worked on the main project, which, yeah, was for the next 6 weeks. And we will talk more about that later on, but very happy with all of the students who are here and their progress, because I think they all learned at least something from this program, which is great, or I hope so. And so now I will pass it over to Reese to talk about what she learned and her personal website.
Okay, so throughout the project, I learned how to divide my time so I can focus and complete everything I wanted to. I wanted to get a lot done in a short period of time. So to do this, I had to learn how to manage my time and focus on one task at a time without getting overwhelmed. My favorite part of creating my personal website was seeing how my previous knowledge of JavaScript translated into React and real development. My least favorite part of the project was not understanding React at the beginning of it. And then this code is for the cards of my page. The first screenshot is the base component with props. The second screenshot is where the cards are used in the code. The cards link to different pages and represent different things, so each card needed to be different. And then these are the cards on a website. As you can see, they are in a grid, which I made using CSS. Each card is different with different images, titles, and subtitles. This is why using props and varying text was necessary for this project. And then the next slide. These are some more screenshots of my site. The left one is one of the pages accessible by the cards, and the right one is the home page.
Great, thanks,
So
Reese. Go ahead.
through my time in ASIT, I learned and gained many skills, and one of the most important skills that I learned was communication and asking for help when I needed it. The ASIT program really helped me develop this skill. And one of my favorite parts of this experience was when I got to use the logic from JavaScript and HTML, CSS to help me craft my website. So it made it more easier to understand, not understand the code. This actually took up a lot of time, and it's still kind of tricky even after like a lot of Google searches and videos from YouTube. So on the next slide, here's the code for my website. On the left side, there is a code for JS, and it was used for making the button, and it it was, and on the right side it was JS for the navigation bar, and this was used for like a drop down menu which can take you back to the home page.
Go ahead, Oscar.
Yeah, so what I learned at ACE, I would say I came into ACE having already a pretty strong base in software development. But what I learned was trying to, or I guess the difficulty of trying to implement sorting algorithms into real life projects. Sorting algorithms are something that are really arbitrary. Like a lot of people think of them as only in the context of scripting. But obviously the whole point of sorting algorithms is to include them in real life problems and solve real life problems with them. So being able to, I guess, convert that arbitrary subject into a full-on project where I could visualize the sorting algorithms was pretty cool because I got to realize how sorting algorithms can be implemented in real-life projects. I would say I wasn't done yet.
Sorry there.
I would say my least favorite part about this was how I managed my time. A lot of my time was relearning different quirks in the sorting algorithms instead of fully developing my time to build the application. So if I was maybe building a stronger base in sorting algorithms, I would maybe be able to handle this application a bit better. Yeah, here's a little snippet of code from my personal project. There's a render method, which again is basically the entire project itself. Within this project, there's a couple buttons, and each button calls a different sorting algorithm. So when you have a random array of values, you could call different buttons, and those buttons will sort the random arrays of values using the specified method. So here's a little example of a mid-merge sort iteration, meaning merge sort is a divide and conquer algorithm, and you could kind of see that it's broken this random array of bars into specific sections, and then from there it recursively sorts each section of the bars.
Go ahead, Shiva.
So throughout this project of working on my website, I was able to expand on my previous knowledge of React that I learned throughout school. and it was kind of basic, and I learned kind of bits and pieces of React, and I didn't really have a way to kind of focus all my knowledge onto one kind of project. So this website project helped me focus all my knowledge onto one thing, and I feel that kind of helped me develop my knowledge and understanding of React overall, which I really liked. I also like that I got to see how HTML and CSS is used in real time through React, as it allowed me to develop my understanding behind what goes on websites, as previously I made them in pure HTML without any CSS or JavaScript, and they look kind of plain. My least favorite part of the whole project was not having a lot of time to work on it, as school was taking up a majority of my time. So I didn't get the website to where I wanted it to be, but I was still able to get something done. With regards to the actual website, I don't have screenshots, but I created a website for myself to write about anything interesting going on in my life or any events that I want to share. So whenever I feel I want to, I can write a post and it will appear on a list of posts on the main page. And anybody can go through it and read it if they have any sort of interest in what's going on in my life or what I'm currently working on with regards to schooling, extracurriculars, or socializing, or anything else. So that's what I created on my website.
Go ahead, Jenny.
So the main thing I learned throughout working on this website, since it was basically one of my first like coding experiences, was just problem solving and learning more independently. So if you don't know how to do something, just like what question do you have to ask in order to like know how to solve it? And then just Googling and YouTubing a lot and asking for help when you need it. My favorite part of this experience was just being able to see like the code I wrote actually turn into something. Because, like I said, this was the first website that I made. And of course, it wasn't like super sophisticated, but I still thought it was cool because, you know, it's my first time. And my least favorite part was trying to get the flower animation on my website to work. And I just kept like going through my code for like an hour and I'm like, I don't see any issues. And then like I finally found this like one variable which was like defined wrongly. So I didn't really like that, but it's kind of funny looking at it now. So yeah. And so the code on the next slide. So the image most to the left, that's just the CSS styling of the website. So just making sure that like the body paragraph is all aligned in the center, and then like the heading has like a margin from the top and stuff like that. And then the top right code, that's just the like text on my website. And then the bottom left is the animation of my flower, which you can kind of see in the next slide. It's not moving because it's an image, but yeah. And my website's kind of cringe, but yeah.
Great, and thanks for that, Jenny. I don't think your website's cringe at all because it's definitely better than what I was making in high school. And so with that, let's move on to the main project. So as I mentioned earlier, the students went through the design thinking process at a high level, making prototypes, writing some short personas, etc. And really, that process isn't perfect, I don't think, but I think it's good to at least know about because it gives you some type of progression and steps to know when designing anything really. And so the project that the students settled on was a university dashboard, basically, with information to help students know about the universities in Canada that they may be interested in applying to. And so, yeah, I will now turn it over to Reese again to talk about what she made during this main project phase.
So for the main project, I mostly contributed to the front end presentation. I used MUI to display the data. I made the navigation bar, main table, saved page table, add buttons, and delete buttons. I also coded a custom page for each university and made the CSS and routing of the site. And then the screenshot on the left is of the main table. I used an MUI table component to create it. It displays all the data from the JSON file. I used a function to display the different data for each row of the table. And then the second screenshot on the right is for the add button of each row. And then both components get their data from the server. And the next page, the next slide, is so the top left is the table displayed on the website, and as you can see, each university has its own row with data and an add button on the right. And some of the buttons are disabled because they have been added to the Save page, which is pink below. And you can also see the links on these university names, and then these links lead to the page for each university, which you can see an example of on the right with the University of Waterloo. And then that's it.
Great, thanks. Go ahead, Genevieve.
So my part in the project was basically the logic behind the survey, and the main the main goal for this survey was like to answer the questions that needed to be answered. So my job was basically compiling all the data. For example, I used location of the university, average students per class, and various clubs that the university has. So on the next slide, here is the code. This also has a little bit of Oscar's code. However, I also added the different factors for universities. And so on the next slide is what the outcome of the survey data is gonna look like.
Great, I'll hand it over to Oscar. I love this meme
I know
addition, by the way.
It's a Postgres meme. Okay, anyways. Yeah, basically I made a lot of the backend architecture as far as file structure, as far as how we are going to organize the entire backend itself. I also made the backend methods, meaning I'll be showing you the code snippet. Middleware regarding JSON middleware specifically, or cores. The database, which is the initialization, and the architecture, meaning how data is going to be stored and how data is going to be queried from the database. And I also made the server, which has the request and response data format. And I mean format by like how the data will be given to the user once they make the request off like a postman, for example. Yeah, so this is part one. This is the more server API-ish centered code. So what I have here is basically this server.js file, which again is local API methods, some middleware, and some server initialization. So as far as what I use to develop, I guess these three little panels here, is Express.js, PostgreSQL, and a lot of my work regarding requests and responses was made with Postman and curl. Postman, I realized, was much more efficient because curl is just kind of old and it's more like terminal based. So as far as my code, I had this one area called server config. Again, configuring the server, adding middleware like cores, and also creating something called pool, which is made from my database config.js file. And again, that is, I'm going to get into that on the next slide, but that's going to be related to the database. Here I have a delete method, a post method. I also have a get method, and the get method is going to be used for what Reese was saying, the main page that she had. She basically compiles that get method into renderable info. Yeah, and here's the more data-centered code. So here's the local data architecture. And what I mean by local data, it's the data that will be stored on the actual website and that won't be accessed remotely. We used to have it on the cloud, but now we're doing it from our own system, I guess. Here's the database architecture. It's very, very simple, not many lines of code. And as far as the backend file structure that I talked about, here is the main server file. So we have a database, node modules, package JSON, package lock, the server.js file, and the university data.js, which is the local data architecture file. And then as far as the database, we have a configuration, which contains config.js, config.sql, again, which is the database architecture up here. And yeah, node modules.
So I mainly worked on the sign-in page, and on the next slide, the left image is just the code for the login page, and then the right side of this slide is just the code for the register page, and then on the next slide you can kind of just see how that looks like. And that was it.
Great. Well, thank you everyone to the students for presenting. I really do mean it when I say that you guys, all of you, everyone on this call, you're doing more than I was doing when I was in high school for coding. So I think that's great, and that's what I really wanted this program to be all about. And so yeah, it's just really good to see you guys having an interest in technology. I hope you all learned something from the program. I know, Jenny, that you're gonna be coming to Western next year. So that's super exciting. So I'll get to see you again. And yeah, the rest of you guys keep in touch. I'll invite you guys to our next ice cream meetup for the next cohort. If you're able to come, that's great. But if not, no worries. Yeah, so thank you again to the students for participating. And then also thank you to all the parents, whether you know is driving your kid to the ice cream meetup or like just talking about the program. It's really good to have that support as well. Yeah, and so that's really the end of the presentation. But thank you for coming and listening. Yeah, thank you.